Welcome to the 1,000 Nights and One Night. Now, when it was the 374th night, she said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that as Uns Al-Wujud entered his lines, the lion arose and stalked slowly up to him, with his eyes tear-railing, and licked him with his tongue, then walked on before him, signing to him as though saying, 'Follow me.' So we followed him, and the beast ceased not leading him on for a while till he brought him up to a mountain and guided him to the farther side, where he came upon the track of a caravan over the desert, and knew it to be that of Rose and Hood and her company. Then he took the trail, and when the lion saw that he knew the track for what that party which escorted her, he turned back and went his way, while Uns Al-Wujud walked on the footmarks day and night, till they brought him to a dashing sea, swollen with a clashing surge. The trail led down to the sandy shore, and there broke off, whereby he knew that there had been taken a ship, and had continued their journey by water. So he lost hope of finding his lover, and with hot tears he repeated these couplets. Far is the fane and patience faileth me. How can I seek them o'er the abysmal sea? Or how be patient when my vitals burn for love of them, and sleep waxed in me? Since the sad day they left the home and fled, my heart's consumed by love's ardency. Sayin, Jayon, Euphrates like my tears, make flood, no deluged rain its light can see. Mine eyelids chafed with running tears remain. My heart from fiery sparks is never free. The host of love and longing pressed me, and made the host of patience break and flee. I've risked my life too freely for their love, and risk of life the least of ills shall be. Allan never punish I and saw those charms enshrined in passing full moon's brilliancy. I found me felled by fair, wide-opened eyes, which pierced my heart with stringless archery, and soft, lithe, swaying shape enraptured me, as sway the branches of the willow tree. Why then I covet union that I win, or pain, cark, and care a mastery? For love of them I mourn and I pine, and I doubt all came to me from evil eyne. And when his lines were ended, he wept till he swooned away, and abode in his swoon a while. But as soon as he came to himself, he looked right and left, and seeing no one in the desert, he became fearful of the wild beasts. So he clomb to the top of a high mountain, where he heard the voice of a son of Adam speaking within a cave. He listened, and lo, they were the accents of a devotee who had sworn the world and given himself to pious works and worship. He knocked thrice at the cavern door, but the hermit made him no answer, neither came forth to him, wherefore he groaned aloud and recited these couplets. What pathway find I my desire to obtain? How scape from care and cark and pain and bane? All terrors join to make me old and hoar of head and heart, ere youth from me is taken. Nor find I any aid my passion, nor a friend to lighten load of bane and pain. How great and many trouble I've endured. Fortune hath turned her back, I see unfain. Oh, mercy, mercy on the lover's heart, doomed cup of parting and desertion drain. A fire in his heart, his vitals waste, and severance make his reason vainest vain. How dread the day I came to her abode, and saw the writ they wrote on the doorway lane. I wept till gave I earth to drink my grief, but still too near and far I did but feign. Then strayed I till in waste a lion sprang on me, and but for flattering words had slain. I soothed him, so he spared me and let me aid. He too might happily of love's taste complain. O devotee, and idlest in thy cave, meseems eke thou hast learned love's might and main. But if at end of woes with them I league, straight I'll forget all suffering and fatigue. Hardly had he made an end of these verses, when behold, the door of the cavern opened, and he heard one say, Alas, the pity of it! So he entered and saluted the devotee, who returned his salam, and asked him, What is thy name? Answered the young man, Uns Al-Wujud, and what caused thee to come hither? Quoth the hermit. So he told him his story in its entirety, admitting naught of his misfortune. Whereat he wept and said, O Uns Al-Wujud, these 20 years have I passed in this place, but never beheld I any man here until yesterday, when I heard a noise of weeping and lamentation, and looking forth in the direction of the sound, saw many people and tents pitched on the seashore, and the party at once proceeded to build a ship, in which certain of them embarked and sailed over the waters. Then some of the crew returned with the ship, and breaking it up went their way. And I suspect that those who embarked in the ship and returned not are they whom thou seekest. In that case, O Uns Al-Wujud, thy grief must needs be great and sore, and thou art excusable, though never yet was lover, but suffered love-longing. Then he recited these couplets. Uns Al-Wujud, dost deem me fancy free, when pine and longing slay and quicken me? I have known love and yearning from the years, since mother milk I drank, no air was free. Long struggled I with love till learnt his might. Ask thou of him, he'll tell with willing gree. Love sick and pining drank I passion cup, and well nigh perished in mine agony. Strong was I, but my strength to weakness turned, and I sword brake through patience armory. Hope not to win love joys without annoy. Contrary ever links with contrary. But fear not change from lover true. Be true, and to thy wish some day thine own 'twill be. Love hath forbidden to his votaries relinquishment as deadliest heresy. The eremite, having ended his verse, rose, and coming up to Uns Al-Wujud, embraced him. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased saying her permitted say. Now, when it was the 375th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the eremite, having ended his verse, rose, and coming up to Uns Al-Wujud, embraced him, and they went together till the hills rang with their cries, and they fell down fainting. When they revived, they swore brotherhood in Allah Almighty, after which said Uns Al-Wujud, This very night will I pray to God, and seek of him direction anent what thou shouldest do to attain thy desire. Thus it was with them. But as regards Rose and Hood, when they brought her to the mountain and set her in the castle, and she beheld its ordering, she wept and exclaimed, By Allah, thou art a goodly place, save thou lackest in thee the presence of the beloved. Then seeing birds in the island, she bade her people set snares for them, and put all they caught in cages within the castle. And they did so. But she sat at the lattice and bethought her of what had passed, and desire and passion and distraction redoubled upon her, till she burst into tears and repeated these couplets. Oh, to whom now of my desire complaining sore shall I, bewailing my part from my fear, compelled thus to fly? Flames rage within what underlies my ribs, yet hide them I in deepest secret, dreading I the jealous hostile spy. I am grown as lean, adjutant as any pick of tooth, by sore estrangement, absence, ardor, ceaseless sob and sigh. What is the eye of my beloved to see how I've become, like tree stripped bare of leafage left to linger and to die? They tyrannized over me, whom they confine in place, where to the lover my heart may never draw him nigh. I beg the sun for me to give greetings 1,000-fold, at time of rising and aging, when setting from the sky. To the beloved one, who shames a full moon's loveliness, when shows the slender form that doth the willow branch outvie. If Rose herself would even with his cheek, I say with her, Thou art not like it, me, to me my portion thou deny. His honeydew of lips is like the grateful water draught, would cool me when a fire in heart enflameth fierce and high. How shall I give him who is my heart and soul of me, my malady, my wasting cause, my love, sole leech of me? Then, as the gloom of nights closed around her, her yearning increased, and she called to mind the past, and recited also these couplets. 'Tis dark. My transport and uncease now gather might and main, and love desire provoketh me to wake my wonted pain. The pang of parting takes for ever place within my breast, and pining makes me desolate to destitution lain. Ecstasy sore maltreats my soul, and yearning burns my sprite, and tears betray love's secrecies, which I would lief contain. I weet no way, I know no case that can make light my load, or heal my wasting body, or cast out from me this bane. A hell of fire is in my heart, and flames with lambent tongue, and law's furnace fires within my liver place have ta'en. O thou, exaggerating blame for what befell, enough, I bear with patience whatso hath writ for me the pen. I swear, by Allah, ne'er to find aught comfort for their loss. 'Tis oath of passion children, and their oaths are ne'er in vain. O night, salams of me to friends, and let to them be known, of thee true knowledge have I awake, and waking ever won. Meanwhile, the hermit said to Uns Al-Wujud, Go down to the palm grove in the valley and fetch some fibre. So he went, and returning from the palm fibre, which the hermit took, and twisting into ropes, made therewith a net, such as used for carrying straw. After which he said, O Uns Al-Wujud, in the heart of the valley groweth a gourd, which springeth up and drieth upon its roots. Go down there, and fill the sack therewith, then tie it together, and casting it into the water, embark thereon, and make for the midst of the sea. So haply thou shalt win thy wish, for whoso never ventureth shall never have what he seeketh. I hear, and I obey, answered Uns Al-Wujud. Then he bade the hermit farewell after the holy man had prayed for him, and taking himself to the soul of the valley, did as his adviser had counselled him, made the sack, launched it upon the water, and pushed from the shore. Then there arose a wind, which drave him out to the sea till he was lost to the eremite's view, and he ceased not to float over the abyss of the ocean, one billow tossing him up, and another bearing him down, and he beholding the while the dangers and marvels of the deep for the space of 3 days. At the end of the time, fate cast him upon the mount of the bereft mother, where he landed, giddy and tottering like a chick unfledged, and at last of his strength for hunger and thirst, but finding there streams flowing, and birds on the branches cooing, and fruit-laden trees in clusters, and singly growing, he ate of the fruits, and drank of the rills. Then he walked on till he saw some white thing far off, and making for it, found that it was a strongly fortified castle. So he went up to the gate, and seeing it locked, sat down by it. And there he sat for 3 days, when behold, the gate opened, and a eunuch came out, who finding Uns Al-Wujud there seated, said to him, Whence camest thou, and who brought thee thither? Quoth he, From Ispahan, and I was voyaging with merchandise when my ship was wrecked, and the waves cast me upon the farther side of this island. Whereupon the eunuch wept and embraced him, saying, Allah preserve thee, O thou friendly face! Ispahan is my country too, and I have there a cousin, and the daughter of my father's brother, whom I loved from my childhood, and cherished with fond affection. But a people stronger than we fell upon us foray, and taking me among their other booty, cut off my yard, and sold me for a castrato, whilst I was yet a lad, and this is how I came to be in such a case. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 377th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the eunuch who came forth from the castle where Rose and Hood was confined told Uns Al-Wujud all his tale, and said, The raiders who captured me cut off my yard and sold me for castrato, and this is how I came to be in such a case. And after saluting him and wishing him long life, the eunuch carried him into the courtyard of the castle, where he saw a great tank of water surrounded by trees, on whose branches hung cages of silver with doors of gold, and therein birds were warbling and singing the praises of the requiting king. And when he came to the first cage, he looked, and lo, a turtle dove, on seeing him, raised her voice and cried out, saying, O thou bounty fraught! Whereat he fell down fainting, and after coming to himself he sighed heavily and recited these couplets. O turtle dove, like me art thou distraught? Then pray the Lord and sing, O bounty fraught. Would I known and thy moan were signs of joy, or cry of love, desire, and heart enwrought. And moan, thou pining for a lover gone, who left thee woe begone to pine in thought. Or if, like me, hast thou lost thy fondest friend, and severance long desired to memory brought. O Allah, guard a faithful lover's lot. I will not leave her through my bones go rot. Then, after ending his verses, he fainted again, and presently reviving, he went on to the second cage, where he found a ring-dove. When he saw it, it sang out, O Eternal, I thank thee! And he groaned and recited these couplets. I heard a ring-dove chanting plaintively, I thank thee, O Eternal, for this misery. Haply, perchance, may Allah of his grace send me by his long round my love to see. Full oft she comes with honey lips dark red, and heaps up low upon love's ardency. Quoth I, while longing fires flame high and fierce in heart, and wasting life's vitality, and tears like gouts of blood go railing down in torrents over cheeks now pale of blee. None e'er trod earth that was not born to woe, but I will patient dream mine agony. So help me, Allah, till that happy day when with my mistress I unite shall be. Then will I spend my good on lovers whites, who of my tribe and of the faith of me, and loose the very birds from jail set free, and change my grief for gladness, gree, and glee. Then he went on to the third cage, where he found a mockingbird, which when he saw it set up a song, and he recited the following couplets. Pleaseth me yon huzzar of mocking strain, like voice of lover pained by love in vain. Woe's me for lovers! Ah, how many men by nights and pine and passion low are lain, as though by stress of love they have been made mournless and sleepless by their pain and bane. When I went daft for him who conquered me, and pined for him who proved of proudest strain, my tears in streams down trickled, and I cried, These long-linked tears bind like an adamant chain. Grew consumptuous, severance long, and I lost patience hordes, and grief waxed sovereign. If justice bide in world, and me unite, with him I love, and Allah veileth dine, I'll strip my clothes that he may my form shall sight, with parting distance, grief, how poor of plight. Then he went on to the fourth cage, where he found a bulbul, which at sight of him began to sway to and fro, and sing its plaintive descant. And when he heard its complaint, he burst into tears, and repeated these couplets. The bulbul's notes, when as drawn is nigh, tells the lover from strains of strings to fly, complaineth for passion, Uns Al-Wujud, for pine that would be being to him deny. How many a strain do we hear whose sound softens stones, and the rock can mollify, and the breeze of morning that sweetly speaks of meadow is flowered greenery, and scents and sounds in the morning tide of birds and zephyrs and fragrance vie. But I think of one, of an absent friend, and tears rail like rain from a showery sky, and the flamy tongues on my breast uprise, as sparks from gleed that in dark air fly. Allah deign vouchsafe to a lover distraught some day the face of his dear to descry. For lovers, indeed, no excuse is clear, save excuse of sight and excuse of eye. Then he walked on a little, and came to a goodly cage, than which was no goodlier there, and in a culver of the forest, that is to say, a wood pigeon, the bird renowned among birds as the minstrel of love-longing, with a collar of jewels around its neck, marvellous fine and fair. He considered it a while, and seeing it absently brooding in its cage, he shed tears, and repeated these couplets. O culver of copse, with salams I greet, O brother of lovers who woe must weet, I love a gazelle who is slender slim, whose glances for keenness the scimitar beat. For her love are my heart, and my vitals afire, and my frame consumes a lover's fever heat. The sweet taste of fruit is unlawful for me, and forbidden is slumber unlawful sweet. Endurance and solace have traveled from me, and love homes in my heart, and grief takes firm seat. How shall life deal joy when they flee my sight, who are joy and gladness and life and sprite? As soon as Uns Al-Wujud had ended his verse, and Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 377th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that as soon as Uns Al-Wujud had ended his verse, the wood-culver awoke from its brooding, and cooed a reply to his lines, and shrilled and trilled with his thrilling notes, till it was all but spake with human speech, and the tongue of the case talked for it, and recited these couplets. O lover, thou bringest to thought a tide, when the strength of my youth first faded and died, and a friend of whose form I was enamoured, seductive and dight with bright pride, whose voice, as he sat on the sand-hill tree, from the neigh's sweet sound turned my heart aside. A fowler snared him in a net the while. Oh, that man would leave me at large, he cried. I had hoped he might somehow of mercy show what a hapless lover he so espied. But Allah smite him who tore me away, in his hardness of heart from my lover's side. But my desire for him groweth more, and my heart with the fires of disjunction is fried. Allah guard a true lover, who strives with love, and hath borne the torments I still abide. And see me bound in this cage with mind of ruth, release me, my love to find. Then Uns Al-Wujud turned to his companion, this Fadi, and said, What palace is this? Who built it, and who bideth in it? Quoth the eunuch, The Wazir of a certain king built it to guard his daughter, fearing for her the accidents of time and the incidents of fortune, and lodged her herein with her attendants. Nor do we open it save once in every year, whether provisions come. And Uns Al-Wujud said to himself, I have gained my end, though I may have long to wait. Such was his case. But as regards Rosen Hood, of a truth, she took no pleasure in eating or drinking, sitting or sleeping, but her desire and passion and distraction redoubled on her, and she went wandering about the castle corners, but could find no issue, wherefore she shed tears, and recited these couplets. They have cruelly ta'en me from my beloved, and made me taste anguish in prison ta'en. They have fired my heart with the flames of love, barred all sight of him whom I fain. In a lofty palace they prisoned me, on a mountain placed in the middle main. If they have got me, right vain's their wish, for my love is grown of a stronger strain. How can I forget him, whose face was cause of all I suffer, of all I plain? The whole of my days is sorrow spent, and in thought of him through the night I'm lain. Remembrance of him cheers my solitude, while I lorn of his presence and lone remain. Would I know if after all this my fate to oblige the desire of my heart will deign? When her verses were ended, she ascended to the terraced roof of the castle, after donning her richest clothes and trinkets, and throwing a necklace of jewels around her neck. Then binding together some dresses of balabuk stuff by way of a rope, she tied them to the crenels, and left herself down thereby to the ground. And she fared on over wastes and waterless wilds, till she came to the shore, when she saw fishermen plying here, and there over the sea, for the wind had driven him on the island. When he saw her, he was affrighted, and he pushed again, flying from her. But she cried out and made pressing signs to him to return, versifying with these couplets. O fisherman, no care hast thou to fear. I'm but an earth-born maid in the mortal sphere. I pray thee linger in my prayer grant, and to my unhappy tale give ear. Pity, so Allah spare thee, warmest love. Say, hast thou seen him, my beloved fear? I love a lovely youth whose face excels sunlight, and passes moon when clearest clear. The fawn that sees his glance is fain to cry, I am his thrall, and own himself no peer. Beauty hath written on his winsome cheek rare lines of pregnant sense for every seer. Who sights the light of love his soul is saved, who strays is infidel to hell anear. and thou in mercy show his sight, O rare. Thou shalt have every wish, the dearest dear, of rubies and what likest are to them, fresh pearls and unions new, the seashells tear. My friend, thou shalt forsooth grant my desire, whose heart is melted in love's hottest fire. When the fisherman heard her words, he wept and made moan and lamented. Then recalling what had betided himself in the days of his youth, when love had the mastery over him, and longing and desire and distraction were sore upon him, and the fire as of passion consumed him, he replied to her these couplets. What fair excuse is this my pining plight, with wasted limbs and tears increasing blight, and eyelids open in the nightly murk, and heart like fire stick, ready fire to smite? Indeed, love burdened us in early youth, and true from false coin soon we learned to write. Then did we sell our soul on way of love, and drunk of many a well to win her sight, venturing very life to gain her grace, and make high profit, periling a mite. 'Tis love's religion whoso buyeth with life, his lover's grace with highest gain indite. And when he ended his verse, he moored his boat to the beach, and said to her, Embark, so may I carry thee whither thou wilt. Thereupon she embarked, and he put off with her. But they had not gone long from land, when their stern wind came upon the boat, and drove it swiftly out of sight of the shore. Now the fisherman knew not whither he went, and the strong wind blew without ceasing 3 days, when it fell by leave of Allah Almighty. And they sailed on, and ceased not sailing, till they came to the sight of a city sitting upon the seashore. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased saying her permitted say. And so do I cease my tale for the day, until it be morrow.